What is up, down, and sideways, all you beautiful individuals? It is another FPF League Unlock. Eric and Mark here with you fine feathered individuals for 2 more MSI tickets on the line, and you would be forgiven if you look at these matchups and they look like they're the grand finals in both the LCK and LPL, but this is just qualifying for MSI. We still, of course, have the finals in the LPL and 2 rounds of matchups in the LCK still.
The LCK leaving you on a cliffhanger for the rest of this one after getting an MSI appearance here for the winner of this matchup here before Hanwha Life and Gen G. And yeah, on the other side, it still keeps going. In the LPL, we are going to get that finality of at least this part of the sport.
And this Gen G Hanwha series, listen, it started with a bang in Game 1, the most contested, insane back-and-forth game of the series, and looking at the series as a whole, this is like a anime-level character arc for Canyon individually, because you start with him being the guy who maybe steps a little too far forward in the base to throw this entire lead for Gen G that Hanwha Life eventually gets back into. Then you get stomped in Game 2. He's on the down and out, the main character. You think it's over. He can't get it done again. And then the next 3 games completely turns things around, starting with that Skarner game with the solid early game. And truthfully, his smites throughout this entire series were on point, only highlighted in that Lee Sin and Wukong game.
Someone in the team room must have said, let's get the real Canyon on stage. Enough of the imposter. Let's get the real one out here for this series. What a crazy thing this Gen G roster is, that we can step into this with all the preparation, all the focus, and go in on what an amazing player Chovy is, how well the bottom lane duo has worked together, and Ruler's shining moments through this split. We even took some time to talk about Keen, his angle, his role that he'll play within this series and how things were going to go. And under the radar, but in the back of your mind, you're always going, there's also Canyon for this team. But you didn't expect it to be at that forefront, but we should when you step into these best of scenarios, because it has happened time after time after time. And again, he always finds a way to step up when that pressure, when the situation is the most critical. He is who you want to rely upon, and in this series, a major difference maker.
Yeah, and it's kind of the juice that is often missed in Chovy lineups has been that clutch factor, and we know Canyon in the most important games has stepped up throughout his entire career. Absolutely did it again in the last couple of games here. And let's be honest, let's not take away from Chovy number 1. It felt like even in some of these losses, this was maybe the most one-sided matchup that's gone the way of Chovy in the infamous Zeka versus Chovy showdown. It was Gen G side of the mid lane pretty much this entire set.
I don't know if we've actually even seen just this level of perfectionism from Chovy throughout his well-storied career and star-studded highlights everywhere type of thing. I don't know if we've had a stretch just like this where it has been as clean, as perfect performance and spectacular the way that it has been for him, where you even have, relatively strong performances, contributions from Zeka on the other side. And it doesn't matter with what you're looking at with your own player, with your own advantages within that lane and how you can set it up for it. And especially then, again, playing back to the Canyon role. Having Canyon, then the guy who is that X factor, the decision maker, make these make or break plays, and having the utility, the backup of knowing that you're going to have another guy at this type of power level, at this type of skill. It's unbeatable. And, well, you saw in the day, wasn't able to be taken down.
And this is a series where it felt like Viper was a raid boss for the majority of it, even in especially games 3 and 4 that Gen G are coming away with. Felt like they had to do everything possible to just get through Viper and be able to kill him in some of these team fights. And then it felt cathartic in this game 5 for Ruler on the Lucian to be the guy who just ignores everything and ends the game number 1, but is 3 levels up on Viper Xayah and is flashing on him to kind of close out the game. And then that was the biggest smile I've seen out of Ruler since he was like winning his first LCK title and immediately high fives Duro. It felt like something was released for him to be able to win that series in this fashion.
It's the tension, the expectations, the pressure, that's all there. Knowing what type of run Gen G had been on since he had left the organization, the highs that people remembered when you were with the organization, and all of that coming through, and to have a big type of performance, a head-to-head like this one, and get a moment like that in that game 5, yes, that can be one of those type of breakthrough, break free type of moments for this bottom lane, for Ruler in specific with Gen G. I'm just scared. I'm scared for the rest of the LCK. I'm scared for the rest of the world. Thinking about MSI with Gen G booking their ticket. And heck, certainly looks like Hanwha Life is very soon going to book that next ticket for the LCK.
I'm just scared for Gen G because, again, this format is a little bit weird. They now have a perfect split, right? You add this, it's 19-0. Technically, they've won as the first seed going to MSI. It's not an official title, but that means the expectations now at another international event, a team that just went 19-0 in the most competitive region. This is starting the season, pre-Worlds. Let's see what the jitters are like on the international stage for Gen G and the boys. I know they've already won an MSI, so Chovy's got that international title under his belt.
I get it. It can be seen as this negative, this additional overcast cloud that will hang over you. But my perspective is going to be that cloud's going to be there regardless for a squad like Gen G that has had the history, the shortcomings that they have had on the international stage. And at this point, do you go, okay, well, let's just hope that maybe things work out the way that they do, and we're actually an underdog at this event and people aren't expecting us, or the pressure is less? Or do you say, you know what? Give us another crack at it. Let me see that pitch another time and see if I can get a handle on it with that pressure involved. Because you know what? You want to be the very best, the best that there ever was type of thing. You're going to have to deal with pressure like this, expectations like this. So getting practice, more experience like it, even if you have faltered before as Gen G, I think that this is still a positive, still that check mark. 19-0. Book it and put it in the history book.
And truthfully, okay, if they were 17-2, there'd still be this insane amount of pressure, and they'd still be favorites, regardless of the perfect record kind of coming down. So yes, they will be one of the overall tournament favorites. Obviously, remains to be seen which LPL squad will be the overall favorite heading to MSI, but we at least now know that BLG will be getting that rematch against Anyone's Legend and be representing as that second LPL squad. And listen, there were, I think overall now you look at the performance IG just put at this series, solid, competitive, kind of stole the game 1, maybe had an angle to win game 2, but when this roster was announced, I think being decisively the third best team in only their second split, you're probably happy with the level that IG was at, despite the Shy kind of having a bit of a dud of a series.
But again, that's the territory with the Shy. You know that as who he is and what he brings to the table, and sometimes what he doesn't bring to the table in certain series at times. You know that is going to be part of the drama, the dilemma of Invictus Gaming and him in the top side. But yes, this rejuvenation, revitalization project for this team, and turning back the clock, turning back the pages to that successful World Championship roster, this has turned out as best as you could really expect or have hoped. Realistically, looking at the landscape of the LPL, the power teams that are here, to have yourself slotted in a competitive series against BLG, even if it still is a decisive win at the end of the day for BLG, being in there, having your moments, showing that pushback, you are right to say that this is good, looking good for this team to maybe book up a world spot at the end of summer split, which has to be, I think, the ultimate goal, the end prize and journey for this team. Yes, a first stand, MSI, those all would have been wonderful to attend, get experience, keep working through in this year. You knew when this roster was put together, the big circle was around Worlds and having them contend and be a factor there. This type of progression, this type of showing leads me to believe that they will be there. But the real story is about BLG. Booking ourselves a rematch against Anyone's Legend and making sure we're gonna get a spicy little preview video for MSI. Bin in his poutine. Oh man, I can't wait.
And Bin and Knight, of course, were racking up a lot of solo kills throughout this series, but absolutely the dude to highlight after this, especially games 3 and 4, is Beishwan in the jungle. The guy who subbed in and, let's face it, turned around the entire season for BLG. And initially you're going, okay, he's the game manager we love to throw to just try and say someone's not as good as the rest of his team, but he has been anything but that, and he was doing it on the carry champions like a Pantheon, like a Xin Zhao, kind of saving some of these team fights for BLG. And this guy, I mean, what an amazing opportunity to get slotted into this out of desperation star-studded roster, but he has taken this opportunity and absolutely ran with it.
I'm calling him the GPS of the LPL because he helps you find your way. This was what you needed for BLG. So lost. They had all sorts of maps from different centuries. This one leads me to the left. This one, no, we got to go to the right over here. Beishwan steps in and he says, you're going to go 300 meters, take a right, take a left, and there you're there at the spot. This is what you want to see from the BLG team. And yes, Knight, Bin did have their star performances, did have their star moments within this series, but you're right to say that the X factor, the difference maker, the reason it is BLG going to MSI has got to be in this series and all the series to get to this point, Beishwan at this point. And yes, what a remarkable job it has been, individually and with the rest of the team, having that adaptation, that change of them back to winning form.
And obviously he's going to have that final hurdle, the exam, going up against the king of the jungle himself in Tarzan, who we've seen show up in big ways lately in these big playoff series. He's none of that choking stuff that we've heard about in years past. So obviously that jungle matchup going to be the ultimate showdown in these finals for the LPL. But yeah, if you're a fan of the LPL, I think you're feeling, even if IG managed to really show up on the day and take down BLG, you're more confident in sending both BLG and AL than you would be sending IG.
And I think it's even more under more importance given the way that first stand went, given the disappointment of top esports, that confidence, that strength and structure that you have in sending a squad as accomplished and experienced like BLG and as on the rise as anyone's legend has been. You have to feel good if you are an LPL fan.
A little bit of off-season or heading into Split 3 news, and this is something we knew was probably cooking up. Umti leaving Team Liquid. And listen, there's a lot of thank you videos, blah, 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 that players have had over the years released from teams, but I actually highly encourage you to watch this one, because this isn't just a montage of some of the highlights and best moments from a player with a thank you text at the end. This was going into detail, talking about how Umti was feeling, why he's stepping away from the team, the stress and anxiety that was racking up for him in the expectations to perform, him being probably overly critical of himself, not being at that level, and Team Liquid as an organization seems like are an example for every other team to see how you actually deal with the mental health of players and try and accommodate, help them, and don't force them in. Say, Umti, this is not healthy for you. You need to step away.
It was really a breath of fresh air, actually, to see this type of announcement come through the way that it did and how well prepared it was from Team Liquid and how focused and thoughtful really this decision was for the team. Yes, get to the nuts and bolts, nitty gritty, and get hard into performance and all sorts of things. And you can be critical of things within this decision and how things played out with Umti. But when you know this behind the scenes, you get this type of heartfelt actual story behind it and connect as a human. I don't know how anybody could be negative in one of these type of situations. I think the best explanation and coverage of this whole situation for me was from Spawn, the head coach, talking about, look, if I'm going just in my coaching role, I'm going up to Umti and I'm saying, look, okay, rough patches, all sorts of things, we're going to work through it. We're going to get back to your mechanics. We're going to find a way to have you thrive with this team, and we're going to work on it. But if I'm his dad and I'm taking a more personal look at the situation and caring individually about my son type of thing, I'd say, look, let's go home. Let's have some time. Let's feel good again. And then you can take another opportunity. You can take another try somewhere else, or whatever reset type of option. And I think that type of maturity from the organization and from Umti himself is only going to lead for the best of everybody for both parties.
And listen, it's a business first industry, esports, sports. It's always been that, and it's sometimes difficult to see teams separate that human aspect from just, well, we need to win games. You're not playing well, play better. But actually looking at from, again, Umti's side of things, the personal level. So yeah, kudos to Team Liquid for that. Kudos for Umti for speaking his mind openly, and of course, wish nothing but the best for him. Sounds like he'll be going back to South Korea. Don't know if it's just going to be a break, an extended break, but I will say Umti absolutely has the skill set to slide into a coaching role if that ever is something he's interested in.
That would be somewhere where I'd like him to see maybe, a transition over time. I don't know if it's necessarily the right time in this immediate moment. I do think that there still is opportunity, still room, talent in the tank. But yes, a reset, a break, and a new approach to the game is something I think is going to be necessary for him to find. Very much so. Appreciated this response and clarity in the response from Team Liquid and how they handle.
We'll see if there's any other roster moves that end up coming in ahead of Split 3, or if it's just UG going to slide into the jungle and roll it back with the rest of the players. But either way, love the transparency coming out of TL and the boys from Umti. But that is it today for League Unlock. Eric and Mark here with you. Absolutely gorgeous individuals. Thank you for hanging out. We will catch you on that flippity flip.